When Meghan Markle sat down with Stephen Colbert, no one expected the night to end the way it did. What started as a lively late-night chat quickly spiraled into a heated showdown that left the audience stunned and the internet on fire. With tensions rising and sharp words exchanged, Meghan made a shocking move, storming off the stage in front of cameras, leaving Colbert and viewers speechless. This explosive moment has since become one of the most talked-about clashes in television history, sparking debates, dividing opinions, and redefining Meghan's already controversial public image. The fiery exchange between Meghan Markle and Stephen Colbert quickly turned into one of the most talked-about on-air moments in recent memory, a confrontation that blurred the line between candid conversation and public controversy. From the moment Meghan walked onto the set, there was an energy that felt charged, almost as though the audience sensed something unpredictable was about to unfold. Colbert, known for his sharp wit and ability to push the limits in interviews, wasted no time diving into questions that many in the media often circle around but rarely ask directly. Meghan, who has always been at the center of polarized narratives, seemed prepared for some of the conversation but was visibly caught off guard when Colbert pressed her on issues relating to public perception, her strained ties with the royal family, and the criticism she has faced since stepping back from official royal duties. As the dialogue escalated, Meghan's tone grew sharper. Rather than delivering carefully crafted responses that many celebrities rely on in late-night interviews, she leaned into direct confrontation. She challenged Colbert's framing of certain questions and even turned the spotlight back on him, accusing him of feeding into the same cycle of media scrutiny she has battled for years. The audience, initially laughing and clapping along as they do in most late-night tapings, began to sense the tension building on stage. Some gasped at her blunt replies, while others seemed energized by her willingness to defy the expected script of light-hearted banter. Colbert, never one to retreat easily, pushed back with his trademark mix of humor and pointed criticism. What was supposed to be a blend of entertainment and mild controversy spiraled into a moment that felt deeply personal. Meghan's body language shifted. Crossed arms, clipped tones, and long pauses between answers signaled that she was no longer playing along with the format of the show. She appeared both defiant and defensive, torn between using the platform to make a statement and rejecting what she saw as another attempt to corner her in a narrative she could not control. The clash hit its peak when Colbert asked a particularly loaded question that touched on her relationship with the royal institution and whether she believed her public criticisms were damaging or empowering. Meghan's response was laced with frustration, emphasizing that she had the right to speak her truth without being silenced or ridiculed. Yet, the delivery of her words carried a sharpness that left little room for levity. The tension in the room became palpable, and instead of diffusing the moment with humor as he often does, Colbert leaned further in, highlighting the contradictions in her public statements over the years. At that point, the atmosphere shifted from uncomfortable to explosive. Meghan, visibly upset, delivered a pointed remark that stunned both Colbert and the audience, a moment that made it clear she was done engaging. Without the usual grace notes of wrapping up a heated exchange, she abruptly stood, thanked no one, and walked off the set. The stunned silence was followed by awkward applause, with Colbert trying to regain control of the show and lighten the mood, though the moment had already cemented itself as unforgettable. The fallout from this fiery exchange was immediate. Clips of the walk-off spread across social media within hours, sparking debates that mirrored the very polarization Meghan has faced for years. Supporters praised her for standing her ground, refusing to be cornered or reduced to soundbites that could later be weaponized against her. Critics, on the other hand, saw the walk-off as unprofessional, arguing that she had been given a major platform and squandered it by storming out rather than finishing the conversation. The split reactions created a digital firestorm, making the incident one of the most replayed late-night moments in recent history. For Colbert, the incident underscored his reputation as a host who is unafraid to press boundaries, though some argued he pushed too far this time, venturing into territory that risked crossing the line between tough questioning and unnecessary provocation. For Meghan, the fiery exchange became yet another chapter in her ongoing battle with public perception. It reflected her struggle to control her own story while navigating platforms that thrive on conflict and drama. Whether seen as an empowering stand or an overreaction, her decision to leave the stage reinforced her image as someone unwilling to tolerate environments she feels are hostile or exploitative. In the end, what could have been just another late-night appearance turned into a cultural flashpoint. The fiery clash with Colbert will be remembered not only for its shocking walk-off, but also for the way it encapsulated Meghan's complex relationship with the media and the public. It was raw, unscripted, and filled with tension, exactly the kind of moment that keeps audiences watching, debating, and replaying long after the cameras stop rolling. The unexpected walk-off during Meghan Markle's appearance on Stephen Colbert's show became the defining moment of the entire interview, transforming what began as a typical late-night segment into a viral cultural flashpoint. Late-night interviews are usually predictable: some light jokes, promotional plugs, and a few carefully handled personal questions. But this moment broke the script entirely. What made it so powerful was not just Meghan's decision to leave, but the way it unfolded in real time, leaving both the audience in the studio and viewers at home stunned and divided over what they had just witnessed. As the interview progressed, the energy in the room shifted. Meghan had handled Colbert's earlier questions with a mix of poise and pointed rebuttals, but the conversation grew increasingly tense. Each exchange seemed to chip away at her patience. When Colbert introduced a question that touched a particularly sensitive nerve, one that directly challenged her credibility and consistency in past public statements, her demeanor changed. The smile faded, her responses became clipped, and the tension was written all over her face. What was once playful sparring turned into something heavier, and it was clear Meghan no longer wanted to play along with the format of the show. The breaking point came swiftly. Colbert pushed further with a remark that drew audible reactions from the audience. Meghan's response carried a sharp edge, her words ringing with frustration rather than diplomacy. The silence that followed her retort stretched longer than expected, and in that pause, everyone in the room sensed a shift. Instead of trying to smooth over the tension or move the conversation forward, Meghan stood up, adjusted her outfit with a quick movement, and turned toward the exit. The decision to walk away was so abrupt that Colbert himself seemed caught off guard, attempting to interject with a light-hearted comment that fell flat as she left the stage. The audience reacted with a mix of gasps and awkward applause. Some viewers cheered her on, seeing the move as a bold rejection of what they perceived to be an unfair line of questioning. Others sat stunned, unsure if the moment was staged or real. The production crew scrambled, with cameras briefly losing focus as Meghan exited and Colbert tried to regain control of the show. That raw authenticity, the sense that this was not scripted television but a genuine clash playing out live, was exactly what made the walk-off so explosive. For Meghan, the walk-off symbolized a refusal to continue engaging in an environment she felt had crossed a line. Over the years, she has made it clear that she will not allow herself to be cornered, silenced, or subjected to narratives she cannot control. By leaving, she reclaimed power in a situation where she felt the conversation was no longer constructive. For her supporters, this was a strong reminder of her independence and willingness to stand up for herself, even if it meant breaking the unspoken rules of television appearances. Critics, however, painted a very different picture. To them, the walk-off appeared unprofessional and impulsive, an action that undermined her credibility. They argued that public figures, especially those who choose to give interviews, have a responsibility to endure tough questions rather than abandoning the conversation when it becomes uncomfortable. This polarized reaction only amplified the drama, with both sides using the walk-off as evidence to reinforce their long-held views about Meghan's character and her approach to public life. Social media lit up almost immediately. Clips of her leaving the stage circulated across platforms within hours, racking up millions of views. Hashtags about the walk-off trended globally, sparking fiery debates in comment sections and video reactions from fans and critics alike. The incident was dissected frame by frame, with people analyzing her body language, tone of voice, and the exact phrasing of Colbert's question that triggered her exit. Some praised her for setting boundaries in real time, while others mocked her for what they saw as theatrics. The media frenzy that followed only fueled the incident's impact.
Headline Framédite à everything from à courage ou stand to a public meltdown.
Depending on the outlet's stance. Talk shows, podcasts, and news segments replayed the footage endlessly, each adding their spin on what the walk-off represented. The controversy highlighted not only Meghan's ongoing struggle with the press, but also the way any unscripted moment involving her becomes magnified and politicized. Ultimately, the unexpected walk-off wasn't just about an interview gone wrong. It symbolized the broader challenges Meghan faces whenever she steps into the spotlight. Her decision to leave resonated because it encapsulated the ongoing push and pull between her desire to control her narrative and the media's hunger for unfiltered drama. Whether seen as a brave assertion of agency or a mistake that damaged her public image, the moment became unforgettable precisely because it broke the expected rhythm of television. Audiences crave unpredictability, and Meghan's walk-off delivered it in a way no scripted controversy ever could. It was a reminder that in today's media landscape, a single unscripted decision can overshadow an entire conversation and become the lasting image that people remember. Meghan walking off Colbert's stage was not just a fleeting incident, it was a cultural flashpoint that will continue to be replayed, debated, and analyzed for years to come. The audience and media reaction to Meghan Markle's dramatic moment on Stephen Colbert's show turned what could have been a fleeting late-night clash into a cultural spectacle that spread far beyond the studio walls. Inside the theater, the tension was immediate and unmistakable. Viewers who had come expecting laughter, witty exchanges, and polished storytelling suddenly found themselves witnessing a raw confrontation unfold in real time. The shift in atmosphere was almost cinematic. Laughter faded into uneasy silence, gasps cut through the air, and then scattered applause broke out as Meghan made her way off stage. For those lucky enough to be in the live audience, the walk-off became one of those I was there moments, an event that they knew would explode the second cameras stopped rolling. Social media amplified the drama within minutes. Clips of Meghan leaving the stage were uploaded, shared, and dissected frame by frame. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok buzzed with hot takes, each platform amplifying the polarized divide that has long followed Meghan. Some praised her decision, framing it as an empowering act of resistance against what they perceived as Colbert's intrusive questioning. Memes were quickly born, portraying her as a woman unwilling to be silenced or forced into uncomfortable narratives. On the other side of the spectrum, critics labeled her reaction as overly dramatic, pointing to the walk-off as proof of what they claimed was an inability to handle pressure or tough questions. The comment sections were a battlefield, every post sparking heated debates between supporters and detractors. The traditional media seized on the incident as well. Major outlets ran stories with bold headlines that framed the moment in starkly different lights. Some news platforms highlighted Meghan's strength and refusal to tolerate what they described as aggressive interviewing tactics, while others suggested she had squandered a powerful opportunity to speak directly to the public by cutting the interview short. Tabloids, predictably, went into overdrive, crafting sensationalized narratives about Meghan's temperament, her relationship with the American press, and what the moment meant for her ongoing battle to control her image. Late-night television thrives on controversy, but this was different. It was unscripted drama, and the media knew it was gold. Within days, talk shows and podcasts dedicated entire segments to replaying the footage, pausing to analyze her tone, her facial expressions, and even Colbert's attempts to lighten the situation. Body language experts were called in to offer their interpretations, some suggesting Meghan displayed clear signs of frustration and defiance, while others insisted her exit showed a woman exercising her agency under pressure. Every detail, down to the way she stood up and adjusted her outfit before leaving, became part of the larger conversation. The clip wasn't just being watched, it was being studied, and every interpretation fueled more debate. The public reaction was just as divided. Supporters argued that Meghan had every right to walk away when she felt disrespected or cornered. To them, her exit was not weakness but strength, a demonstration that she would no longer play into media traps designed to provoke controversy at her expense. Many women in particular saw her action as symbolic, a pushback against the societal expectation that women, especially public figures, must remain composed and compliant even when confronted with hostility. For these audiences, Meghan's walk-off became more than a late-night drama. It became a moment of solidarity and empowerment. Detractors, however,
Painted à différents pictures.
They accused her of being thin-skinned, unprofessional, and unprepared for the challenges that come with high-profile media appearances. To them, walking off the set was an act of avoidance, a refusal to engage with tough but fair questions. They argued that such behavior only reinforced existing criticism about her unwillingness to take responsibility or face scrutiny. These critics flooded comment sections with mocking posts and memes that cast the moment as a meltdown rather than an act of strength. What made the audience and media reaction so intense was not simply Meghan's action itself, but how it fit into the broader narrative surrounding her. For years, she has been at the center of polarizing conversations about royalty, celebrity, race, feminism, and media ethics. Every appearance she makes is scrutinized through these lenses, and this walk-off was no exception. Supporters projected their admiration onto her, while critics projected their disdain, making the incident less about the actual interview and more about what Meghan represents to different groups of people. Even days after the broadcast, the walk-off continued to dominate headlines and online discussions. News cycles that might have moved on to other topics stayed locked onto Meghan, ensuring that the fallout lasted longer than most late-night controversies. The media's obsession only deepened the public's interest, creating a feedback loop where every headline fueled more debate, and every debate fueled more content. It was proof that Meghan, no matter the circumstances, continues to command the kind of attention that most celebrities can only dream of. In the end, the audience and media reaction elevated the walk-off from a fleeting outburst into a cultural phenomenon. It was dissected, celebrated, mocked, and immortalized in countless clips and commentaries. For some, it was a bold act of defiance. For others, a dramatic overreaction. But regardless of which side people took, one fact remained undeniable: everyone was talking about it, and that was the kind of attention that guarantees an incident lives far longer than the moment itself. The impact of Meghan Markle's walk-off on Stephen Colbert's show rippled far beyond the studio stage, becoming another defining chapter in her complicated relationship with the public and the media. For Meghan, every move she makes in the spotlight carries weight, but this particular moment highlighted just how fragile and divided her public image has become. While some applauded her decision as an act of strength, others saw it as yet another example of her inability to handle criticism. The result was a wave of analysis, debate, and headlines that will likely linger in conversations about her for years to come. At the core of the reaction was the idea of authenticity. Meghan has often spoken about reclaiming her voice after years of being silenced or scrutinized, and her decision to walk off was interpreted by supporters as a raw, unfiltered expression of that mission. To them, she demonstrated that she refuses to sit quietly when she feels disrespected, even if it means disrupting the carefully orchestrated rhythm of late-night television. This added to her image as someone willing to push back against powerful platforms and maintain her own agency, no matter the fallout. For many, it was a reminder that she does not play by the traditional rules of celebrity interviews, and that in itself reinforced her narrative of independence. But for critics, the same moment had the opposite effect. To them, the walk-off reinforced an image of Meghan as overly sensitive, unprofessional, and unwilling to face tough conversations. They argued that if she seeks to maintain influence and credibility on global issues, she must be able to handle direct questioning without retreating. In their eyes, the walk-off wasn't a display of empowerment but of fragility, undermining her ability to be taken seriously in media or political spaces. This interpretation was quickly amplified by tabloids and commentators who have long positioned her as inconsistent or hypocritical. The polarized reactions reflected how Meghan's image has become a mirror through which people project their own beliefs. For her supporters, she is a symbol of resilience, a woman standing firm against institutions and media forces that have tried to control her story. For detractors, she is a public figure who consistently demands control but bristles when challenged, further fueling skepticism about her motives. The walk-off only widened the gap between these two camps, making her public persona even more divisive. Interestingly, the incident also had implications for how Meghan is seen in Hollywood versus the broader global stage. Within entertainment circles, such moments often generate attention that translates into relevance, and relevance is currency in the industry. The viral nature of the walk-off ensured that Meghan remained at the center of cultural conversations, keeping her name trending and her presence unavoidable. In this sense, the clash may have worked in her favor, reminding both Hollywood and audiences that she is still capable of commanding headlines and driving engagement. On the global stage, however, the picture was less straightforward. Meghan has positioned herself as a humanitarian and advocate, taking on causes like mental health, gender equality, and social justice. The walk-off risked overshadowing that work, with critics pointing to the incident as evidence that she prioritizes personal battles over larger issues. Supporters countered by arguing that setting boundaries in public spaces is itself a powerful example of self-respect, especially for women in the public eye. This dual interpretation meant that the incident did not just impact Meghan's entertainment image, but also her credibility as a public figure engaged in global causes. The media's role in shaping her image after the incident was just as critical. Outlets sympathetic to Meghan emphasized her bravery and refusal to tolerate hostility, while those opposed highlighted her supposed lack of composure. This divide meant that audiences often consumed the same moment through entirely different lenses, depending on where they got their information. In the age of social media, those narratives spread quickly, cementing the idea that Meghan's image is less about objective truth and more about perception. For Meghan herself, the impact is likely to be complex. On one hand, the walk-off will fuel ongoing criticism and provide ammunition to those who question her reliability in high-pressure environments. On the other, it reinforces her reputation as someone unwilling to compromise her principles for the sake of appearances. That tension has defined her public life since stepping back from royal duties, and this latest episode only deepened the contradictions that make her one of the most polarizing figures in modern media. Ultimately, The incident with Colbert added another layer to the multifaceted image Meghan carries in the public sphere. It highlighted her vulnerability as well as her defiance, her determination as well as her volatility. Whether people view her actions as inspiring or frustrating, one truth became undeniable: Meghan Markle remains impossible to ignore. Every decision she makes, even one as simple as walking off a stage, becomes a cultural event with consequences that extend far beyond the moment itself. The impact on her public image may be mixed, but in the world of celebrity and influence, visibility is power, and Meghan has once again proven that she has it in abundance.